Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another fabulous edition. This is episode number 10. We finally made it. Episode number 10. You're tuned in to the I.M.A.G.E show on 98.3 The Vibe special edition Sunday morning. I.M.A.G.E TV podcast. For those of you who are joining us by YouTube, satellite, all around the country, we encourage you to continue to keep the word out there. Get people to subscribe. Today, we are still talking about black on black crime. We've got some great guests in the house. Well, to my right here, we've got Adrienne Grover, a.k.a. Dunk, from Waterloo, Iowa. That's right. She's representing from Waterloo, Iowa. Adrienne, it is a pleasure to have you on the I.M.A.G.E show with us.
No, it's my pleasure to be here.
Well, I'm impressed. You just spare no expense at getting people here from the far corners of the world, do you?
Whole 2 hours away.
That's right. And Ken, so of course, everyone's familiar with you. You're our co-host, and we've been talking about black on black crime.
Boy, we sure have.
And for those out there that have been tuned in, we want to tell you, please reach out to us. rpate.image@mail.com, or you can go to the screen, make some comments if you're listening by YouTube. If you're listening by 98.3 The Vibe, please reach out to us. We want to hear from you. Isn't that right, Ken?
It sure is. You know, we've done a lot of research, but we don't think we've got all the answers. We need to hear it, like they say, from the horse's mouth, the people that are involved in the neighborhoods, the people that have experienced black on black crime, and tell us what you think. You know, we look on the internet, we do our research, and we try to find out, why is this happening? And we come up with some of the textbook things, and we covered a lot of those last week. And, you know, we might just go over them real quickly again this week and move on so that we can keep going. But, you know, last week we found out that the neighborhood has a lot to do with what happens. We found out that the age group, 17 to 35, has a lot to do with what happens. And we found out that education has a lot to do with it, and that people that didn't complete high school and definitely didn't complete college are a big factor in this black on black crime. So today we'd like to move on and start talking about some of the other things that are involved. And, you know, even as much as we've talked, I still have a question about what happened in the black community that made the big change in attitude. And we talked last week about how the black community used to be together and help each other and work together, and we didn't have this black on black crime. So that's one of the mysteries we're going to try to talk about today, and I don't know if Adrienne or you can shed any more light on it than we had last week.
Oh, yeah. We got a whole lot of light to shed on it, and that's why Adrienne's here. She was actually excited to come on and talk about this. So we're talking about black on black crime. We're here. We've made it here again, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about it, Adrienne, all the way from Waterloo, Iowa. Now, me and you talked about how the prison systems, and I'm surprised for a lady who has never been to prison, you're still very well aware of what's going on, because we talk about the black on black crime right in the institution in the state of Iowa with Waterloo and Des Moines. There's a hatred there. For some reason that takes
Don't
place.
ask me.
No.
I didn't do it.
No, I'm not asking. I'm telling basically you and everyone else is that there is a issue with black on black crime right in the institution in Iowa with Black Hawk County and Polk County.
Correct.
Talk about it, Adrienne. Well,
my biggest memory growing up, we could not come to Polk County during you guys'
Drake Relay.
Drake Relays, correct. And when we would have my Waterloo days, you guys weren't allowed there. You couldn't have Black Hawk County plates and come to Polk County, and vice versa. There would be rivalry.
And that's terrible, don't you think, Ken?
Oh, it is. It is ridiculous. It'd be interesting to find out what started that. What were the bases for that?
That's what I'm saying. These things go untalked about and kind of hidden. Never gets thrown out there.
Yeah.
It would be good to know. Do you know?
I don't know. I just know that we have an area in Waterloo, and for those that are in YouTube, you can speak on that in the comments. We had a place called the Bin. It's literally like where you drive at, and I can remember where Polk County came around with beautiful cars, and they were hurt and they left without their cars. And that was moments that I remember myself. You know what I mean?
So they got robbed of their cars?
Yeah, literally robbed of their cars. And we would get robbed of our cars when you guys would come up. You know, we would come up here during Drake relays.
Really?
Yeah. So
I never
it started
knew about that.
around the bend for people that are from Waterloo. They know what the bend is. I promise you. I don't know what you guys had an area.
Well, Drake Relay, basically all up and down University. Yeah, we normally have
the car
shows. All that's kind of died down in Des Moines.
Correct. COVID has taken all
well,
that.
Not just COVID. It's been dying down for some years now for some reason.
You know, it's interesting you say that, but if you look at a lot of the problems and rivalries in the world today and go back and try to figure out what started it, people have no idea.
We got to go to a quick commercial. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into 98.3 The Vibe, special edition, I.M.A.G.E TV podcast. For those of you joining us by YouTube, those of you joining us by satellite, we want to tell you to get out there and subscribe. If you would like to be a sponsor on the I.M.A.G.E show or be a sponsor of the I.M.A.G.E program, I encourage you to reach out to Robert Pate at rpate.image@mail.com. We'll be back after these messages. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, 98.3 The Vibe, early morning show, special edition, I.M.A.G.E TV podcast. Those of you joining us, we are just rocking and rolling with this topic. It's black on black crime. And I think that this is so interesting, especially in the time, era, and age that we are in right now. It needs to be talked about. We need to talk about it some more, Ken.
I agree. You know, one of the things that kind of bugged me or intrigued me, when you look at the information on the internet, it says one of the problems is habitually hostile men.
Habitually hostile.
Now, this is people that walk around with a chip on their shoulder, looking for a fight, just asking for trouble. And I remember, we talked about this last week. Was one of the men in Pastor Bell's class said the only time his father ever complimented him was when he got in a fight at school and came home and whipped somebody.
He did say that last week.
And so it's like, why do people want to be mad all the time?
Well, I'll tell you. So we talked about black on black crime. And one of the things that I felt was very valuable is the fact we must understand that crime, or first of all, let's go back to gangs, okay? Gangs were...
We can't go back to gangs. We haven't got there yet.
Well, I mean, let's just go back to when gangs started, okay? Initially, it started for the good. It wasn't for bad. It wasn't for wrong. They were support groups, protection, security. Yeah, you look at the gangs in Chicago.
Now, this is black gangs.
These are black gangs.
You go back to New York in the early days with the Italian gangs and the Irish gangs and so there was wasn't that much good about them.
Well,
they were shaking down their own people.
Okay, but now that we're on this black on black topic and black on black crime, I think that it's important to kind of go back to where a lot of this stuff really started, because if you look at the war on drugs back in the 80s, you look at the Crips and the Bloods. Now, the original gangs that came out, it was for the good. People were getting along. It's when the drugs came out. The cocaine, when crack cocaine became real popular. The gangs needed a trade. They got in the drug business. That's where the violence came.
Too much money. Too
much money involved. Now you've got black on black crime. It's rising. You got people driving around fancy cars. You got black. A lot of this, the cocaine that was brought in.
And then they wonder why the police stop them?
Well, first of all, the cocaine that was brought in was actually brought in by the white man.
Yeah.
Except he didn't get caught. Now you look at even going back to the disparity of crack cocaine versus powder cocaine and how that even played a part to start early on. This is all a domino effect of a lot of this black on black crime.
Well, you're saying then that the hostility came from the gangs?
No, so what I'm saying is that, so these gangs started for the good, and then once the drugs came in and the killing came in, then the violence came in, and these gangs got corrupted. Well, when the Crips and the Bloods basically came out, well, it was all over with. I mean, that was basically established on blue and red. So you had more killings, and the list continues to go on. I think that that was a major part.
Can I say something?
You certainly can, Adrian.
Well, I think my opinion is people stop having fathers, black men. Black men were imprisoned. A lot of them were imprisoned for wrong reasons or no reason at all, which started the domino effect of no love and no talk, where it went down to the Bible, and God says never rely on your own thoughts. So we got people that have raised themselves, people that were didn't know how to love, people that didn't know how to even accept money or do what they needed to do with money. Just like, repeat what he just said. He said, well, why were they driving a car that pretty with worth that much money? Because that was their mentality, because they weren't taught to do the right thing. So we had people that were just running around working impulsively.
All right. When you say that you felt that people were in prison for, a lot were in prison for wrongdoing or something that they didn't do.
Fathers taken out of homes.
Now, that would go back to that disparity in crack cocaine versus powder cocaine, I think, to support more of that. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily just say that they just locked black men up for nothing and threw them in jail and prison. But if you look at reasons like crack cocaine versus powder cocaine disparity, well, that's unjust. And all the time that they got, it was basically serves that purpose for nothing because, or injustice, unjust.
Well, I beg to differ, because the black man was stopped for being black and had no reason to get searched. Then you got the white boy over here got stopped in Iowa.
But I hear
and
that all the time.
his dad.
I hear that all the time.
Correct, you have. But
nobody's ever proved to me that that's valid, other than the fact that their reputation. You know, it's just like you talked about the guy driving around in the car with the $20,000 wheels and no job.
Mm-hmm.
Police are going to stop him.
Well, I agree with what Adrian's saying as well, because there are black people who have been pulled over just because of their race.
All the time.
And then that ended up leading to maybe something that they found on them illegally.
Yeah, well,
over 80% of the marijuana cases here in the state of Iowa are black people that are stopped just because they're black.
Well, I don't know where you can support that, to tell you the truth.
I just didn't bring my paperwork.
You just made that up. But here's the thing.
I did it. Y'all go on down in the comments. Tell him I didn't make this up.
Here's what I'm going to...
He don't know, you guys. He just don't know.
Here's what I'm going to...
I just got to keep it real. I'm sorry. It's the truth.
Here's what I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
You know, people are going to judge you by the people you hang with.
True.
And what they do. And if you're going to drive around at 2 o'clock in the morning in a high-powered car with no job and not look like you're going anyplace, you're going to get stopped. I don't care if you're black or white. Everybody talks about how the black people get stopped for no reason. White people get stopped for no reason.
Well, we got to look at, first of all, there's different elements in what I was actually trying to come to Adrian's support and aid at when she talked about black people going to prison or going to jail for nothing. I think that a lot of people, they look at the laws and they look at the unjust laws and they think, well, he went to prison for 10 years. He went to prison. He did Fed time and got 30 years because he had crack and he had powder. Okay, well, the black person had the crack. The white person had the powder. That's normally in the black African-American culture, that's seen as very, very unfair, and it looks like they went to prison for no reason. Sometimes.
So you're saying that the reason they're all hostile is because they've been treated unjustly and discriminated against?
Yeah, they have a lot of hostility built up because, see, you have an attorney when you go to court. We have a public pretender.
And we already went through that a couple of weeks ago.
I thought you forgot. I was trying to remind you.
And, pardon?
That's
I
right.
thought you forgot.
Good job, Adrian.
And I think, I think what we ended up with was that for the most part, the court-appointed attorneys are pretty high quality. And I think the comment was, you better get one of those instead of a bargain basement lawyer. But,
well, I think Christina Branstad said that she would rather go with a court-appointed attorney rather than some guy that's just fresh out of college and fresh into a law firm or something like that. And that may be true.
Bargain basement attorneys.
Bargain basement attorneys, and that's true.
I don't know. I beg to differ. I think I wouldn't do that. The public pretender is what I've seen is they.
But you're right.
I don't know.
You're right. It's a slow process.
But it doesn't. White people have the same problems. There's poor white people, in case you didn't notice. And they're stuck with the same thing. I've been down at the courthouse over and over and over. When the public defender comes up 5 minutes before you go to court and you meet in the hallway, and they say, here's the deal. So a lot of the stuff we're talking about applies to blacks and whites.
Correct.
Okay?
That's correct. We can agree on that.
I'm trying to get back to why are they always mad? Why do they feel disrespected? And Adrian hit on it a little bit, and we talked about it earlier. It shows that the family is the problem. If you don't have a cohesive family unit to raise kids properly, you're going to put them at high risk of being involved in some type of crime.
Some type of love that they shouldn't be with.
Right. Exactly.
Because we all just want love.
Well put. Okay, I understand. Yes, I agree with that 100%.
Now, you got to think, Ken, Adrian, being from Waterloo, Iowa, just an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Where is Waterloo, Iowa? Do you know?
Well, just 2 hours away from here,
Exactly.
hour and a half away.
Hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah.
And for her to experience the difference in just Polk County and Black Hawk County, just 2 hours away, I mean, you got to think, if we have problems with just 2 hours away in our own little Corn Hicktown state of Iowa, man, we got a big problem in this state if we're trying to come together.
You know,
in this color coming together.
In this state. I mean, particularly, I'm speaking about Iowa, but technically speaking, all over the world, for that matter.
I used to give a speech, okay? And this has been true ever since Adam and Eve. If you've got two kids, your kids are going to fight with each other.
That's right.
If you get them to quit fighting, they'll fight against the neighbor kids. And if you can get the neighborhood to quit fighting each other, they'll fight against the next neighborhood. And pretty soon it's town against town and state against state. I mean, go to a football game between Nebraska and Iowa State or Iowa and Ohio State or something. And it evolves. Eventually it becomes country against country, race against race. I mean, conflict has been built into our society. So it depends on, some people can handle the conflict and some people let it get out of control. And my question is, what is the difference? You and I get along once in a while. And we've got our differences, but we still handle it, right?
That's right.
That's because I give in all the time.
Well, I think that if you look at the fact that when we have our differences, there's still that love and respect that's there. And that's the difference. Now,
let's don't get carried away.
Well, I mean, but that's the difference. You know, even
love is everything.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, when you know that a person has your best interests at heart and you trust them, then most of the time you are sold by their opinions on things, whether it be voting, whether it be whatever it is. You trust their opinion, and you trust who they are and the choices that they make. And this is the same way that we have in today's world. If you find someone that is sending off a negative vibe, then someone that you trust, then you're going to follow down that same path.
I agree.
And that's where we got a lot of this, hatred developed, especially Waterloo and Polk County. I mean, in prison, there was no need for us to have any kind of confrontation. Everybody was black. Everybody was from Iowa, and we should have came together. Most of the guys were big and strong on the weight yard. Most of the Waterloo guys was the strongest guys on the compound, and you think, here are these guys from this smaller town, but they're the strongest. So, if we could have come together and in love, imagine what we could have done then, and imagine what we can do now and what this world
It's
can
never too late.
continuously
I think
do.
we can come together as Black Hawk County and Polk County are African American culture. Why? Because we have time now. COVID-19 has gave us time to think about this. That's why we're talking about it. That's why it's an open decision now. We don't have to go get our cars prepared for either function. So we should come together, Polk County and Black Hawk County, and do something together cohesive. So when we do return to our new normal, we will be as one.
I agree.
Be, just Iowa Black people.
That's good. That's really good, Adrian. And that's why it's always good to hear a female's perspective on that. I do have some guys in my First Fridays class who are from Waterloo, and we come together in love and have a great bond. And again, for those of you out there right now that may be in the Polk County Jail, for those of you out there that may be in Mitchellville, you may be incarcerated, and you're tuned in right now, we want to encourage you to keep hope alive, okay? Remember, God still has that blessing for you.
That's
that
right.
thing that you have been praying for, it is going to come to pass. And me and Ken, we continuously pray. And I believe, Adrian, you'll start in for a lot of the guys out there that are incarcerated, a lot of the gals that are incarcerated, people that are trying to change their lives, that are listening to this program. And they want to be a part of the solution and not the problem anymore. We want to tell you guys to stay encouraged. Ken, I think we've got to go to another quick break.
Let's do it.
But when we come back, I want to get a little bit more into this. You've got some notes and some stuff that you've did some research on. I want to talk a little bit about that. Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into 98.3 The Vibe, early morning show, 9 a.m., The I.M.A.G.E Show, I.M.A.G.E TV podcast. We'll be back after these messages. Shouts out to all of those out there again. From Waterloo, we've got Adrian Grover representing Waterloo, a.k.a. Dunk, William Arthur Breeze, Anthony Cole, a lot of those out there. Rodney Bass, that's right, Bass from Bass Bail Bond. Now he has the food truck in Waterloo, Iowa, and he's going to shock the town with that food truck, by the way. I think that he's doing a great job. Ken, this is a guy that he used to own a bail bond company. He's from Waterloo. He was in prison, turned his life around. Now he's back on track in his hometown, giving back. He's got a food truck that's just off the chain. We'll be back, 98.3 The Vibe Special Edition, after these messages.
You did awesome.
Why, thank you. This is a special edition. With me, I have a guy by the name of Chuck Bruton. And I think that it's very interesting to know that Chuck is a guy who was formerly incarcerated. He got out, changed his life. Now he drives truck. He lives a productive life, has a great family. And being that we're speaking on black crime, Chuck reached out to me and said that he wanted to be on this show, that, he had some different things to offer. And so that's why he's here. Chuck, I want to say thank you for coming on the show. Thanks for your sacrifice coming in this morning. So we're talking about black on black crime, but I also think that it's important to kind of tell your story just a little bit. You were incarcerated for 12 years for robbery. Is that correct?
Correct. But first off, I would like to give honor and praise to my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. Through him, all things are possible. And I would like to thank you for having me on the show.
Well, I would definitely like to say that I'm honored for that. And you are definitely welcome for being on this show. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I got locked up when I was 18, right before my senior year in high school. Had a fall partner. He was 17. I just turned 18. And we got sentenced to like 37 years. He got sent to Fort Dodge. I got sent to I.M.A.G.E. I did about 12 years. Got out, went to the halfway house. Got out from the halfway house, got on parole. From the parole, I probably did about 4 years on parole. I had a federal hold on me, and my parole officer ran me back up to the parole board, and they removed the federal hold, and then they let me off early. So I got off. I discharged 2015.
That's great, man. And you're in the community making a positive change. You actually are a truck driver, is that correct?
Yep, 18-wheeler, semi-truck
18-wheeler.
driver.
Are you proud of that occupation?
Well, that was a plan I had in prison. I was thinking about what was I going to do as a job, and I had my heart set on truck driving because I wanted to travel. Because being locked up in prison, just sitting in one spot all the time, being locked in at night, not being able to go nowhere. I'm like, I want to be a truck driver. I want to hit the road. So yeah, that's what I became. I got out and I got a job. It took me like a week to get a job at DZ. And while I was working at DZ, I went to the I.M.A.G.E Transportation Institute. So for 6 weeks, I had to go to class at the I.M.A.G.E Transportation Institute for 8 hours. Then I had to go around the corner to DZ and work for 10 and a half hours. By the time I got back to the halfway house, I was getting anywhere from 45 minutes to 2 hours of sleep for 6 weeks.
Okay, so we have a lot of guys that come out of prison and they're really not quite sure what to expect, especially after doing a long stint. Now, you did 12 years, so what were some of the challenges that you had to go through coming out, kids, family, financially, jumping through all the hoops, parole, probation, things like that?
Well, I didn't have no kids at the time, but I would say the main thing was, and I wish that I would have did, was the hardest thing was I didn't have no money, and I was expecting to get more financial help than what I did. And I wish that while I was in prison that I would have just put like $5 away, $10 away anytime somebody sent me money or I got a check, to just let it stack up. So when I got out, I at least had that head start to get what I needed, because nobody really told me how to go about getting out and going on with life outside of getting a job and staying out of trouble. But it's that financial pressure of, you don't want to look like a bum. You want to get nice things, but, people got lives. They got, mortgage to pay for, car notes to pay for. They really can't help you like that. Always had a place to stay at my mom's house. So I would say, my biggest struggle was just dealing with not having money and being okay with it.
Okay. Now, we're talking about black on black crime.
Yeah.
And that's one of the primary reasons that you reached out to me. And so I want to get into that a little bit. After hearing episode number 9, you thought that it would be good to have maybe some different people of color to come on and talk about black on black crime.
Yeah. When I watched that episode, I like what Ken was saying, but I just feel like, you got to have somebody of the same color, talking about black on black crime, because that's like family business to me. How people see it is like, we all are people, and, that ain't supposed to be going, it's not supposed to be going on, but, we supposed to speak on that. And not no bad to Ken, because I like his philosophy on a lot of things. Sure. And he's a down-to-earth guy, and I really like him. And I was expecting him to be here because I wanted to talk to him a little bit outside of this. But I think it's good that I'm out here in the community. And one of the things is I work with Mothers Against Violence. And I have my little thing, the Stop the Violence crew. So I'm out here, trying to promote that, trying to get the youngsters, to, think twice about just killing one another or just shooting somebody over pennies. Somebody works a job and they got $100 on them, and you shoot them for no reason. You shoot them for that $100. Or you get mad at them or jealous about something and you shoot them. And that's not the way to go about it,
Well, I want to tell you, thank you very much for coming on this show. I think that it was nice just to introduce you and to give you a chance to talk about a little bit about your history and your ideas and your thoughts. It's also good for other people to hear kind of what goes on here in the state of Iowa in our prison system and the reentry process and kind of how guys are doing different steps that they've taken to accomplish their goals, maintain employment and stuff. So you've been doing that, and I want to tell you that I appreciate that on behalf of the I.M.A.G.E show. I also want to invite you to our first Fridays at the John R. Greb YMCA. Yeah. It'll be this Friday. It'll be every Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. And so you'll find a lot more support there. You'll be able to also be a supporter for some of those that are coming out.
Right. I also started a ex-felon roundtable. So I'll try to, if it's all right, I'd like to invite some of them.
Yeah, most definitely.
Quite a bit of them is from out of town, but we do got some here that are doing things in the community. Had it kind of rough. Really don't have no family here, but they had one friend helping them, and now they got their own project going on where they're lining up jobs. 6 weeks you got to take this class for 6 weeks, and they pay you for it, and then after that they help you to get certain jobs.
Well, I tell you, if you give me some more information about that, Chuck, we'll definitely put it out on the I.M.A.G.E show and get the viewers out there aware and get the community aware. For those of you joining us on 98.3 The Vibe, for those of you joining us by satellite, by YouTube, we want to say this is special edition. We've got Chuck Bruton in the house with us, and it's an honor to have you again on the show. I want to say thank you. And I want to tell you guys, we're going to go to our next commercial break. We'll be back after these messages. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. You're locked and loaded into nothing but love, nothing but reentry, nothing but I.M.A.G.E Fever. 98.3 The Vibe special edition of the I.M.A.G.E TV podcast. We are locked and loaded. Ken, talk to us.
Well, one of the last things I want to talk about is the inferiority complex. And I think it comes from several different areas. First of all, if you don't have a job, you're living on welfare, you're living on handouts, what do you have to be proud of? Okay?
That's because a good point.
Our society says that our pride is on our accomplishments. Have we completed high school? Have we completed college? Do we have a good job? Can we support our families and so on? So I think that's one of the big things that's really causing problems. And I think as we get more and more people educated and in the job market, and by the way, today is a great job market. Everybody and the brothers looking for help. Yeah. It also goes back to key point number one is the family. We have to have a family to teach people the right way to go from the very beginning. And to go to school, to respect authority,
Go to church.
Go to church. I mean, if you go to school and somebody hurts your feelings, mommy doesn't need to go to school and scream and holler at everybody because you got your feelings hurt. Suck it up and move on.
That's right. That's right.
What I'd really like to key on now that we've covered some of the things that the experts talk about is we've talked about gangs and some of the gang involvement. I don't know if any of you listen to rap music or not, but these kids running around with headphones all day long listening to this rap music, that stuff is horrible. It's violent. It's filthy.
Well, there are some people now. Unfortunately, we've got 98.3 The Vibe, which is a throwback station. So there's some of the music that we have no control over. But I do understand what you're saying in the brainwashing of a lot of the music. However, Adrian, you had a different take on that. You said right before the break that you were a Tupac fan and that you like the message that Tupac talks about. Is that correct?
Correct. I feel that Tupac's God blessed us with a soul that Maybe it had already been here. I don't know. But if you look back and listen to Tupac today, he said all this. He talked about the injustices and what they're doing and what they were going to do in his music, and he's dead and gone.
So, see, Ken, this is what I'm saying is that you have some people who believe that some of this music they're getting a different message out of.
Yeah.
And for some people, unless you're from that culture, you really can't relate. Or if you're not of that time era, not saying that you're old, Ken, but, you're not a spring chicken anymore.
You need to brush up on your ebonics.
Okay, let me then.
But some of those
explain
words
this to
that you're
me.
saying, you're looking at it one way, but it's not that way.
Okay.
Because it's ebonics.
Translate this for me.
Okay.
I used to love her. Too bad I had to put a slug through her. Dumped her body in the trash like I never knew her. Blood running down the gutter into the sewer. Her body stunk for weeks like horse manure. Now, what is it that I don't understand about that?
That he's talking about weed.
Going off on the EMF like what was I'm down.
He's not talking about a woman.
It's all violence. It's like
it's a negative. No.
He's saying in his brain how bad he wants to stop doing whatever he's doing, but he's not really saying go do that.
So who translates this for a 14-year-old kid? So they don't go out and think, hey, this is the way I do. When I get mad at my girlfriend, I get a gun and shoot her.
That's where Dad comes in.
I'm going to agree.
But he's in prison.
I'm going to agree with you, Ken, on that topic there. Unfortunately, we do have a lot of music that corrupts the mind and the brain. And hearing those words over and over and over again, yes.
Going back to the black on black crime.
Yes.
Going back to the rap music, and I agree, it's like anything else. You got to be careful about what you're listening to. There's good rap music and there's bad. What I'm saying is, too many of these kids are running around listening to the bad stuff. And it can't help but affect their attitude and the way they act, especially in the absence of a good family and in the absence of a good church atmosphere.
Yeah.
I don't think that we can necessarily disagree with that. I mean, I don't think I can, Ken. I think that that's a valid point that you make. And we have, and even the Bible teaches us, we have to be careful what we hear.
Yeah, and say,
so, yes.
See.
Yes. And one thing about the I.M.A.G.E program is that we stand on truth. You know, we like to have a fun time up here, but when it's all said and done, we like to make sure that the truth is definitely being stood on. Ladies and gentlemen, we are about out of time. We have went all the way through this morning. I want to thank you for tuning in. I thank you, Ken Silver, so much. I thank you, Adrian Grover, for coming on the show. I mean, this was really some good stuff, great topics. Again, for those of you out there watching, if you would like to come on the show, if you have something that you would like to share, if you have some information, if you have some knowledge, if you've dug up some educational, real good background that you would like to come on here and talk about things that have not been talked about, please do not hesitate to articulate. Get in touch with me at rpate.image@mail.com or give me a jingle, 515-326-5498. Robert Pate, Adrian Grover, and Ken Silver. And as we say, it's a wrap.